Have you ever wondered about your romantic relationships follow the same standard over and over? Why do you attract people that make you feel exactly like you felt in previous relationships? Today we will explore a profound truth that changed my life and could change. It's also, according to Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant psychologists in history. Key to attracting love, truly healthy and long-lasting, is about finding the perfect person, but in choosing yourself first. Take a moment and think, how many times do you put your own needs into background to please your partner? How many times have you ignored that voice inside that said something wasn't right in your relationship? Jung discovered something fascinating: every time that you ignore your inner truth to maintain peace or avoid conflict, you are creating a pattern that will repeat until you finally face it. Before continuing, I want you to know that this is not another video about loving yourself with beautiful phrases. Let's go delve into the depths of psychology, Jungian, to understand for our relationships reflect our world interior and how we can transform them. At the root, Jung spoke of the shadow, that part of us that we repress and hide, those insecurities, fears, and wounds that we prefer not to see it. But the surprising thing is that these parts we deny are precisely those that govern our relationships from unconsciously. Have you noticed that you always attracts people who touch their wounds deeper? It's no coincidence, it's yours unconscious looking for cure. Imagine for a moment you grew up feeling that it's not enough, it doesn't deserve to be heard. This unconscious belief will act like a magnet, attracting relationships where, surprisingly, you come back, feel invisible, not heard, not because the universe conspires against you, but why? As Jung discovered, we project into our relationships what we don't resolve within us. This is the first transformative revelation. The relationships you attract do not are accidents nor bad luck, are a perfect mirror of your relationship with yourself. It's hard to hear this, I know, but this truth has a liberating power, immense, because it means you have the control to change this Jung pattern. Explained clearly: until you return, conscious or unconscious, he will direct your life and you will call him fate. This feeling of being trapped in a cycle of relationships that always they end up the same, it's not your destiny, it's simply the unconscious manifesting in your life. But here comes the good news: when you decide to choose yourself, when you commit to looking to your wounds and embrace them instead of hide them, something magical begins to happen. The kind of love you attract begins to transform you, no longer looking for someone to fill your voids or heal your wounds, but someone who walks by your side as you both evolve. Taught us that the deepest and most profound love lasting can only flourish between two people who decided to meet and accept themselves first. Is not romantic. Think you need to be complete before loving. We don't prefer stories of fairies where someone comes to us rescue, but Jung saw in his practice clinic that the most solid and satisfactory results emerged when both people had done the job internal first. But what does it mean? Really choose yourself, not if. It's not about selfishness or isolation. It's about honoring your inner truth, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about setting limits, healthy way to say no when something doesn't resonates with you, and to have the courage to express your needs without fear of rejection. Think about your relationships past. How many times you swallowed your words to avoid a conflict? How many times ignored that feeling in the stomach that said something wasn't right? Jung would say that every time if you do this, you are betraying your true being. And it is this self-rejection that will inevitably manifest itself in your relationships. One of my clients, let's call her Anna, repeated the same thing. Pattern repeatedly fell in love with men who initially adored her, but who gradually became distant and evasive. After months of therapy based on Jungian principles, she discovered something revealing she herself was afraid of real intimacy, although consciously longed for closeness, unconsciously feared her, and this internal contradiction attracted exactly the type of partners that eventually recreate their fear of leaving work. It wasn't easy. Anna had to face parts of herself that she had avoided for years, had to recognize how she abandoned herself every time she put the needs of others above yours, and the hardest part, had to learn to feel comfortable with your own solitude, to enjoy your own company without needing someone fill the space. This is another fundamental concept in psychology. Jungian individuation is the process to become a complete individual, integrated, that does not depend on others to feel full. Jung believed that this was the highest purpose of our existence, knowing ourselves in all our complexity and accept into our totality. And here comes something that few people understand: when you move forward your path of individuation, when really commit to getting to know yourself and love as is the quality of people, what you attract changes dramatically. You no longer attract the from lack but from plenitude, no longer seek someone who complete, but someone who can meet you on a higher level. Deep down you begin to see how everything this connects with attracting love, healthy and lasting. The key is not in the techniques of seduction or finding the profile perfect on a dating app, nor even in learning to communicate better, although this helps. The key is in the inner work, in the relationship with yourself. Even Jung taught us about the anima and the animus, these masculine parts and feminine feelings that we all carry inside us regardless of our gender. When we do not integrate these energies into our interior, we tend to project them onto our partners, hoping that they embody what we have not developed in ourselves. This is the perfect recipe for disillusionment and resentment. For example, if you haven't developed your side more traditionally assertive and direct, associated with masculine energy, could be feel attracted to people who are very dominant, initially admiring them but eventually feeling suffocated by, not because they are bad people but because you are looking abroad for the that you need to develop within yourself. This brings me to one of the most powerful ideas that Jung bequeathed to us: the work with dreams. Your dreams are messages, direct clues from your unconscious, what you need to heal and develop. Have you ever noticed recurring patterns in your dreams that coincide with patterns in your Jung relationships? Would say it is not coincidence. A transformative practice is keeping a dream diary every morning before the distractions of the day. Cloudily write down what you remember from your dreams. With time, you will start to notice recurring themes, characters that represent parts of oneself, situations that reflect your deepest fears and desires. This self-exploration will lead you to know yourself on a level you never have before imagined. Another powerful practice is the imagination activates, a technique developed by Jung which consists of consciously dialogue with different parts of your psyche. Imagine that you could have a conversation with your fear of abandonment, or with that part of you that always gives up to others what they would say, what they need from you. These practices may seem strange in the beginning but are direct paths to the self-knowledge, and how Jung discovered the self-knowledge is the way to more authentic relationships and satisfactory. Now, it is important to understand that this process does not happen overnight. Individuation is a path of life, not a destiny. There will be times when you will feel that you have gone backwards, in that old patterns will try to come back instead of. If you judge, observe these moments with curiosity are opportunities for a deeper understanding. One of the reasons why so many relationships fail because we wait for the other person to make us happy, to fill our voids that heal our wounds. Jung showed us how unfair and unrealistic it is to put this burden on another human being. No one can do this job for you, and the beauty is that when you let waiting for someone to complete it creates room for a kind of love, completely different. Imagine a relationship where you are not constantly worried about what someone else thinks of you, where they don't feels responsible for her happiness, where you can express your truth without fear of abandonment. This is what Jung would call of conscious relationship, based not in mutual dependence but in healthy interdependence. In my experience working with hundreds of people seeking to transform I saw relational patterns like this. Jungian approach creates change, deep and lasting. It's not just about applying communication techniques or rules of dating, is a transformation of inside out. Allow me to share some practical steps inspired by Jungian psychology to start attract healthier and longer-lasting love. First, identify your patterns. Look for your past relationships and look for the topics recurring. You always end if feeling a certain way attracts people with characteristics similar. These patterns are clues, valuable insights into what you need to heal in yourself. According to recognize your projections when something bothers you intensely on someone else. Ask yourself, is there any way in which I do this too? Or alternatively, this is something I repress in myself. Jung discovered that what irritates us most in others, it is usually a reflection of our own shadows. Do not recognized third party sets limits. Healthy. This is an act of self-love that will radically change the dynamics of your relationships when you respect yourself enough to say no to what doesn't resonate with. You start attracting people who also will respect. Fourth practice, radical authenticity. Stop pretending. Be who you think others want. Whatever Jung showed us that the mask that we use, what he called persona, can help us navigate socially. But when we confuse it with our true being, we create relationships based on false pretenses. Fifth, cultivate your relationship with yourself. Dedicate time to your passions. Personal growth to be discovered in loneliness. Jung saw loneliness not as something to avoid, but as a sacred space to self-encounter. Is a powerful exercise that I recommend it to all my followers. Write a letter to your past self, that child who may have learned that it was not enough, that I had to please to be loved, should silence your voice to fit in. In this letter, offer him love and acceptance that you may not have received. This simple act can begin to heal deep wounds that have influenced your relationships without you. Another transformative exercise is the Jungian technique of personifying your emotions. The next time you feel jealous, insecurity, or fear of abandonment, instead to identify completely with this emotion, give it form, name, and voice. Ask him, what do you need? What is trying to protect whatever I know? This internal dialogue can reveal layers of yourself that I never knew they existed. Now, it is important to recognize that this work interior can be challenging. There will be resistance. There will be times when I would rather go back to old standards, simply because they are. Jung family members called this the resistance to change, and there was like a natural part of the process. Is not a sign of failure, but an indication that you are touching something important. Sometimes people who have been in your life for a long time will also resist your change. When you start to choose yourself, to establish healthy boundaries and expressing your true, those accustomed to the version complacent you may feel threatened. Jung taught us that this is also part of the process. Not all will be able to accompany you on your journey of growth and true love, the kind of love that Jung described as transformer, is not afraid of its growth. He celebrates a healthy relationship is one where both people encourage each other to be more authentic, fuller, more faithful to their true interior. Think for a moment what kind relationship you really want. Not the romantic version of the films, but the Deep truth, you want someone who love it but don't really know it, or prefer someone with whom you can share your truth, your fears, your shadows, and feel accepted in your totality. Jung believed that the higher purpose of a relationship was not the romantic fusion, where two people get lost in each other, but a meeting where two individuals complete, recognize, and support each other mutually in their growth. He called conscious marriage a revolutionary concept for its time, and still revolutionary today. In this type of relationship, you don't need to hide parts of yourself to be loved, no need to meet unrealistic expectations, can be completely human with all its contradictions and complexities, and feel secure in the knowledge that is loved not despite who he is but precisely because of who you are. That's not what we all long for deep down. Isn't this the one essence of a love that lasts over time? Not a love based on the initial phase of passion that inevitably fades, but a love that grows deeper and richer with each layer of authenticity that reveals some of you will be thinking, but it seems too much work. Love shouldn't be easier. Jung would respond that nothing truly valuable comes effortlessly. The work you do on yourself doesn't. It's just to attract a relationship. The best is your life's work, path to your realization as a being. Human healthy relationship is a beautiful consequence, not the goal. Others may think, I tried changing it and it didn't work. It continues, attracting the same kind of people to it. Jung would offer a perspective. Compassionate, true change occurs. Layered each time you repeat a standard has the opportunity to understand you more deeply, to see aspects that were previously unnoticed. It's not that change isn't occurring, is that it is occurring at a higher level, deeper than you can perceive. Immediately, one of the most Jung's valuable insights for our understanding relationships is yours concept of synchronicity. He observed that when we align with our true being, when we make decisions that honor our inner truth, the universe seems, people conspire in our favor. Certain ones appear at the right time, not because chance, but because we are vibrating in a different frequency. Maybe you already have experienced it, those magical moments where you meet someone and feel an immediate connection as if you were already new. Jung would say that this is not mysticism. Vague is the tangible result of having done your inner work. When you integrated more parts of yourself, will naturally resonate with people who are on a similar path. That leads me to another crucial point. The attraction is not only physical or emotional, is energetic. Jung understood that the relationships operate in multiples levels, many of them unconscious. When you integrated more of your shadow, when developed a more compassionate relationship with yourself, the energy that emanates changes, and with her, the type of people she attracts. This phenomenon repeatedly in my work. People who have spent years in toxic relationships or unsatisfactory suddenly, after commit to their own growth, begins to attract partners, potentials that reflect your new level of conscience, not because they are actively seeking, but as a natural consequence of its internal transformation. And here there is something that is rarely discussed. When you choose yourself, when you commit to your true, even when it is uncomfortable, develops a kind of emotional radar plus refined, begins to feel immediately when something or someone is not aligned with you. What I could have taken before months or years to discover, now you realize in the first interactions that this is one of the reasons why people who did this work seem to have luck in love. Is not luck, it is conscious discernment based on a deep connection with themselves. But let's be honest, this path is not easy, requires facing truths about yourself, even though they may be painful, requires reviewing beliefs rooted in love, and relationships require questioning familiar patterns that perhaps date back to generations. Jung would talk here about collective unconscious, this layer of psyche that contains archetypes and patterns. Inherited many of our beliefs about love are not really ours, they are collective narratives that we absorb without question them. Love should be difficult. If you really loved me, you would know what need without me saying. Love, true, means sacrificing everything for the other. These limiting narratives need to be examined in light of their truth itself. A powerful exercise is identify your limiting beliefs about love and questioning them. Ask yourself, where does this belief come from? Is it really mine, or have I inherited it? Serving or limiting this conscious questioning can liberate space for new possibilities in your relationships. Another aspect, fundamental, that Jung emphasized is the importance of shadow in our relationships. We all have aspects of ourselves that are difficult for us to accept: jealousy, anger, need, vulnerability. When we deny these parts, we tend to project into our partners, seeing it in them but not in us. This projection mechanism is the root of many conflicts. Relational, you are the insecure one, you say to your partner without recognizing your insecurity. You are the one who always needs. Controller accuses while ignoring your own need to control. Jung's situations invites us to recover these projections, to recognize that what we often irritate others reflects non-integrated aspects of us. This act of recovery not only transforms our relationships but gives us back the vital energy we had spent on denying parts of ourselves. Imagine the freedom that comes when you can say, yes, sometimes I feel I'm jealous and it's okay. I don't need to act agree with them, but also not necessary denying them. This inner honesty creates space for honesty. Similar, as you progress through this path of self-knowledge and acceptance, something wonderful starts to happen to you. You no longer need your partner to help you complete or validate. You no longer wait for someone else makes you happy or fulfills its emptiness. Instead enters the relationships from a place of fullness and authenticity. From this place you can experience what Jung would call true love, not a necessity, desperate, but a conscious choice to share your journey with someone who is doing similar work. You don't look for someone to rescue you, but someone you can grow with. This kind of love is revolutionary because it is not based on dependency, mutual or rigid roles. Is based on two complete beings choosing each other, mutually, repeatedly seeing each other, really, and celebrating your light so much as its shadows. And here is perhaps the deepest lesson that Jung taught us, offered about love and relationships. Most significant are those that challenge to grow, that reflect parts of ourselves that need attention, and heals the person who irritates you, who touches your wounds, is often exactly the person who can help you heal if you are willing to look within instead of simply blaming. Other than that, it doesn't mean you should staying in toxic relationships or abusive. On the contrary, Jung would emphasize the importance of healthy boundaries, but means that every difficulty relational contains a seed of self-knowledge if you are willing to see it as such. Before concluding, I want to offer you a practice, transformative. The next time you feel an intense emotional reaction towards your partner or anyone else, take a break, breathe, and ask yourself, what part of me was activated here? What a wound old is being played? What really I need this break right now? Conscious can transform completely your relationships instead of reacting from old patterns. You respond from a place of greater awareness and compassion for both, with yourself as well as with others. And remember, the way to a love, healthy and lasting, starts with your relationship with oneself. Each act of self-compassion, every moment of authenticity, every healthy limit that establishes is a step towards the type relationship you really long for. It's not an easy path, but I promise it is the most gratifying because it doesn't end like Jung taught us the deepest love and lasting is born when two people, committed first to their own journey of self-knowledge and self-acceptance. This is the message that I want to let today. Choose yourself. It's not selfishness. It's the most loving act, deep, that you can do so much for yourself and your relationships. Future, when you commit to know and love in its entirety, will naturally attract a love that reflects that same depth and authenticity. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to share it with someone who might need it. Maybe do you know someone who is struggling with difficult relational patterns that continues to attract the same type of partners repeatedly? Sometimes a new perspective can be the catalyst for profound change, and if you feel inspired, let me find out in the comments that part of this message touched your heart or how plan to implement these ideas in your own life. His reflections are not only valuable for me but for the whole our community. Also invite you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already did, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future psychology videos. Profound personal growth and clear art of creating relationships. Conscious, remember the love you search starts with you, and when you choose the yourself opens the door to more love, authentic, deep, and lasting than never imagined possible. As Kay would say, Jung's vision will only become clear when you can look inside your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who look inside wake up. Thank you for being here, for your openness and willingness to grow. The simple fact that you are watching this video until the end demonstrates your commitment to your personal evolution, and that is already a victory. See you in the next video. A hug from you, heart.